we almost ate up the first half hour just talking in chat. So anyway, this article from Talk Android says, say hello to the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra in Mystic Bronze. One of my favorite colors in the world is bronze, like a dark brown, like a coffee color. It's one of my favorite things, or one of my favorite colors. And I saw this and it kind of personal. It was personal for me. It just hit me in the right spot. I'm not the biggest Samsung fan. I will admit that, but seeing this color, I was like, oh, I would rock that color. I totally rock that color. It's a phone that the whole world knows is set to launch at the beginning of August. And while the leaks have increased in frequency from the usual suspects, no one really expected Samsung to out its new flagship on its own retail site. But it has, and the image of the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra in magnificent Mystic Bronze is still live on Samsung's Russian web store at the time of writing. It does look nice. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It does look nice. As you can see from the image above, the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra sports the all-important S Pen that differentiates the Note series from the Galaxy S range. I like how the only differentiator here is a pen. Obviously, it's more than just a pen, but I think out of all the features on the Note, this pen is what makes it. I know there are some people in our chat here who own Note series phones. How often do you guys seriously use that pen? Do you seriously use it? Is it really that beneficial? Is it that helpful? When I watched the WWDC event and they showed the Apple Pencil and showed how well that Apple Pencil worked, I was pretty impressed. I've never really used a digital stylus or whatever. I mean, I have, like, at a dinky supermarket where I used to have to sign something or hit yes or no with a pen. But for people who have a Note, like a Note 10, how good is the actual S Pen? Let me go a step further and ask, and I'm asking you all in the chat because I have no experience with it. For people who have an iPad who have an Apple Pencil, how does the Apple Pencil compare to this S Pen? Are they similar, or is the Apple Pencil just straight up better? Or is the S Pen just straight up better? I have no idea. So please let me know in the chat because, again, I have no idea. I'm just wondering if this S Pen is actually worth the money when you buy a Note series. I guess the question would be if this Note didn't have an S Pen, would it be a deal breaker for you? Would you say, well, no, it's not worth it then because I use the S Pen that much. It's that important to me that I need to have it on my phone. Okay, so despite the camera housing noticeably protruding from the rear panel right there, with what could be a prism camera. So this prism camera, isn't this what they're using on the Huawei P40 Pro Plus? The phone looks seriously elegant. Surprisingly, the image was posted at the bottom of the site's Galaxy Note 8 listing. What do you think of the Mystic Bronze finish? I think it looks nice. I think it looks nice personally. I know that it's supposed to be high end, right? It'll have the Snapdragon 865 Plus. So it'll have a overclocked version of the current Snapdragon 865, which is the current flagship processor. It'll have this S Pen. It probably won't have 128 gigs, right? If it's the Ultra. So it'll have a 256 gig version or 512. 8 gigs of RAM, 12 gigs of RAM, 10 gigs of RAM. I don't know. So high end, very expensive. I would assume this Note 20 Ultra will be more expensive than the S20 Ultra. Am I right in saying that? Will this be a $1,500 phone? I mean, I'm guessing it will be, but I don't know. It just makes me wonder if they will up the price because people aren't really spending a ton of money on phones. Or at least the majority of people, unless you have money to burn or you have deep pockets, then I don't know. Honestly, I don't use it as much as it should be used. LOL. It's nice for scrolling because it's such a big phone. So, I mean, at least you're being honest, and I appreciate that honesty. It's funny that you say that you use it for scrolling. So, like, I imagine, do you just sit there? I'm trying to put this on camera. Do you sit here and just go like that with a pen to scroll? Is that my guess? Is that how you're doing it? Instead of using your finger? But thank you for being honest. Thank you for sharing that. And Six, welcome to the stream, man. Welcome. Brian says I don't use the pen often. So what about in terms of an Apple Pencil? Have either of you used the S Pen and an Apple Pencil, and have you seen if it's any different or any better? I mean, I don't know if you have or you haven't, but if you have, please chime in and let me know what you think. Six says, I think people go for the Note because of the slightly bigger display. I can see that as well. So for me, aesthetically, I like the boxier look of the Note than what the S20 Ultra has. That's me. I like a more, I know people like rounded edges and all that kind of stuff, but I like the rectangle shape. I like the straight up, give me a straight up box, not a box, but like a rectangle. I'll take it. Tectonic says, I use the S Pen, but not that much to be worth anything to me. Thank you for sharing that. Deepak is also saying I use it in the beginning, then it gets forgotten. So like at least, and I know this is still anecdotal because it's only like 4 people or 5 people telling me here, but from what I'm reading, from what you guys are experiencing, it's like, yeah, it's usable. I used to use it when I first had it, but it's not something I really use often. If anything, you just use the phone as is. So if the Note didn't have the S Pen, then it probably wouldn't be a deal breaker. Okay, let me see here. Team Fry says boxy is love, Lumia's, Xperia, etc. I know, I do. I love the boxy look. It's for me. I appreciate that look. Six says, I think the S Pen and the Apple Pencil are 2 different products based of the devices. One is a phone versus a tablet. I mean, that's a fair enough point, and I'm totally on board with you, but at the end of the day, they still operate the same way, right? I mean, they should still have very similar functions or functionality. I'm just wondering if one is more versatile than the other. But you could be right, because why would I use an Apple Pencil on my iPhone 11 Pro? I mean, maybe I could. Does it actually... did you watch WWDC when they showed the Apple Pencil? It just seemed like it had a lot of features, and I was like, wow, the Apple Pencil seems like it's come a long way. I'm just curious if the S Pen is capable of a lot of what the Pencil has. And again, I'm not here to like Apple versus Android. I'm just trying to call out what's better. I don't know. I haven't used either, and I'm being very transparent. So I'm just curious, what would be the better device out of the 2 here? Brian says the S Pen was handy as a Bluetooth remote camera shutter. Oh, that's really cool. That's a really cool feature. I would use that. That's not bad at all. Instead of putting a timer, you don't understand how often I use the timer on my phone when I set it up on a tripod. To have an S Pen that has a shutter like that, that's actually a really cool idea. I like that idea. I wonder how often people use that. Huh. Levin says, I used to be a Note user from the Note 2 until the Note 7. So what stopped? Was it the exploding batteries? I'm curious why you stopped using them since then. Gandex says, honestly, if I had an S Pen, I would use it often just so I'm not constantly smudging my screen. That's a fair enough point too. I could see that. I use it for checkbox input. Yep. Deepak says, I also like a more rectangular design. See, there are people who have similar aesthetics. Gilio Jack says, I've used both and they are similar in function. Thank you for sharing that. I was wondering who had experience with both. Thank you. Six says, it would be a cool feature if the selfie camera on the Note would be good enough. Team Verizon says, last time I really used the stylus was on the DS, to be honest. Yeah, that's the last time I probably used a stylus, but I would love an S Pen. Adrian, hey Adrian, what's going on? I haven't seen you in a minute. Adrian Stanciu. I know there's a proper pronunciation for that. So if you get a chance, please let me know so I say it properly. Hi Jerome, S Pen, I will use it for meme creation. I mean, yeah, if you're able to actually just freehand draw and it works that well, I haven't used the stylus in that long. I don't know how good they are in terms of detail and how like fine it is to use. Do you know what I mean? Like the real intricacies of using a pen, like how similar it is to using an actual pen or a pencil. I don't know how far the S Pen has come. Anyway, Adrian, welcome to the stream. Levin says the Note 8 was awful and the Note 9 and 10 price was too high for my liking. Fair enough.